Now on to our last speaker of the day, who again is one of those special speakers who doesn't really need an introduction, but I'm going to anyway. She's talking about getting your plan in place for 2013, and this person always inspires me every single year. She won't know how much she's inspired me over the years, but she's a really strong goal setter. And every year I listen to Chris and I go back, I set my goals and quite often achieve them. I think that's partly because of her. Excuse me. So thank you, Chris, for that. Chris Goldborough is a President's Club member. She's been in the business for 14 years together with her husband, Alan. She's a Sapphire manager and she's achieved everything on the market plan, all of the incentives. She's passionate about helping other people succeed. She's a wife, a mum, and in her own words, an obsessed granny. Please welcome Chris Goldborough. Go for it.
Well, I wasn't expecting to follow a diamond manager. Thanks for that, Maria, but how amazing. Well, it's great to be here. Have we had a great day? It's been fantastic and a real treat to have Maria. So I'll change all that now, finish the day. I've been in the business 14 years. In fact, it really took me back when Maria talked about going to that QLS day 11 years ago, because I was there and I remember Maria and her husband arriving, and she stood next to me and she said, what is this all about then? Do you think it'll work? And just look what she's achieved today. Well, 14 years ago, I would say that Alan and I were in one of those places that was called a good job. There aren't many of those around these days, are there? But it was a good job. We were earning good money, but we really had no life. Our background is both in the manufacturing industry. We both have a corporate background. And so we were working very long hours. The industry was disappearing around us. Everything was going offshore. And I became very worried as I looked ahead that in the next 10 years there would be nothing left. And in fact, as we sit here today, sadly, I was right. There is nothing left in manufacturing in the UK today. But I was also worried about pensions. I was worried about security. And most importantly for me, flexibility. We'd got 2 teenagers at the time at home, but also suddenly both our elderly parents, both sets of parents, started to fail in health. And I just felt I was never in the right place at the right time. Anybody felt like that before? Absolutely. So I was juggling, and I just thought, do you know what? There really has to be more to life. But what? I looked around, I looked for another job. I thought I'd get just a little job or a part-time job. I don't do £6 an hour. So that soon went out of the window. I thought, well, I'll work for myself, and for a time I did. I became a consultant, but what I found was that instead of a boss, now I had a customer. And if the customer wanted me in Scotland, off I went. In London, off I went. So I had no control at all, no flexibility. And then quite by chance, I came across Forever. It was through a client of mine. She invited me along to an aloe evening. I didn't want to go. But I went along, and that night changed my life. I saw this business. I heard Jane Leach, who was doing the product launch at the time, say that she, alongside her partner John, she said, actually, I don't normally mention the business at evenings like this. Ha ha, I now know. And she said, but alongside my partner John, we've been building our business for 5 years, and we earn in excess of 100 grand a year. So I thought, okay, I'll do it. And of course, I didn't know what it was, but that was enough for me. I started the business really part-time. So if you're in the room today and you've got a really busy life, trust me, you can build this business. Just shrink-wrap it around everything else. Because I was doing 60 hours a week. We've got the kids, we've got the parents. But I found that I could just fit little pockets in. I did about 7 hours a week. Within 6 months, I was able to walk away from the day job. 18 months later, my husband gave up his job as business director for one of the largest manufacturing companies in the world at the time. And within 3 years, we were earning in excess of 100,000 a year. So this business delivers, but the best thing it has ever delivered for us has been that freedom, that flexibility. We've heard it from the stage today, the ability to make choices, to choose how you want to live your life. And for us to be able to take care of our parents particularly what turned out to be the last years of their life, that's been priceless. Now, a few weeks ago, we were up at the Scottish Success Day, and a fantastic day it was, and we heard from Ben Hunt Davis. I need to get my clicker, I think. Here we go. Now, I've heard Ben Hunt Davis many times before. Ben is the Olympic gold champion in the coxed 8, and they won gold at the Sydney Olympics in 2000. Now, Ben's mantra, will it make the boat go faster, is as relevant and as true to our business today as it was to his winning team. But what really struck me this time when I heard Ben speak was that when he went to Sydney, that was not the first attempt at him winning gold. In fact, Ben told us that he had attempted his goal for 9 years, and for 7 years he'd worked harder and harder, and he still failed. And it really made me, but what he said was, he said, but just because we hadn't done it before, it didn't mean we couldn't. And that really struck me as we come to the end of the year, and some of us will achieve our goals this year, and some of us won't achieve our goals this year. And so it really made me think. Many of us, of course, are still working to the wire. We've got the best bit of November yet and December to come. But sure enough, as we get towards the new year, we're going to all be sitting down setting goals. Now, for some of us, there'll be new goals, big goals, better goals than ever before. For others, there'll maybe be the same big goal as this year. Just change the year at the top of the piece of paper. I've done that many times, I should say. And so sometimes that can be a bit disheartening. If that is the goal, if it is the same goal, what it made me think was, how do we fight those demons? That little voice that says, well, you've never done it before, so how are you going to do it this time? And, it didn't work last year, so why is it going to work next year? How can we build our belief that this year is our year, that this year, or 2013, is going to be the year when we really do achieve success? At the end of Ben's slot, I asked him, I said, Ben, how did you fight those demons? When you sat on that start line, what was that voice saying? How did you stop yourself thinking, well, you've failed all those times before? And his tip was, look for the reasons why you can win. Look at your performance and look at what you can improve. So what I want to do is, over the next 25 minutes, is just spend some time with you and talk about how we can make 2013 our best year ever. How we can make 2013 the year that we achieve, even if it's eluded us before. Is that all right? Excellent. It's okay for 2 people, so that's all right. Oh, I've got to do that. Oh, hello. I can see you now. Just demolished the microphone. Okay. Well, it all starts with a dream. And your dream, as you already heard from Maria, it all starts with you. And I'd suggest the starting point is to sit down and really ask, who do I want to be? What do I want to do? What do I want to have? How do I want to live my life? How do I want to be remembered? Many of us find it hard to dream. Maybe we've had our dreams knocked out of us. Maybe we've shrunk our dreams to fit our income stream. But it's really important, therefore, to take time out to ask these questions. I believe it takes courage to dream. I find we often struggle to voice our dream. We struggle to own up to wanting more. Sometimes that can feel a little bit uncomfortable. It takes real courage to dream a dream and to tell people about our dream. After all, we often worry what others will think, don't we? We don't want to face that humiliation when we don't actually fulfill our dream. And believe me, I've been there many times. But if we don't find the courage to dream our dream, and voice that dream, then our lives are really never, ever going to change. It takes vision to make that dream a reality. Vision to see it, to feel it, to taste it. It takes belief that we can achieve our goals, particularly if we haven't done so before. And belief takes practice. It really does. You've got to practice believing. But the great thing about belief is that you can just decide. In a heartbeat, you can decide what you're going to believe. In a heartbeat, you can decide that you're going to believe that 2013 is going to be your year. And you've heard it so often from this stage, haven't you? I just decided to decide. So if you've ever wondered what that means, it means I decided to believe. Now, I'm not going to talk about goal setting in detail because there's lots and lots of books out there that can do that job for us better than I can here. But there are two books that I would recommend before you do the exercise of sitting down and writing your goals for 2013. One of them is The Magic of Goal Setting by John Church, and the other, Goal Mapping by Brian Main. Now, I know many of you have heard about these books many times. They've been recommended from the stage many times. But have you read them? More importantly, have you acted upon them? Because remember, if we're going to make 2013 our best year yet, then we're going to have to take some action. We need maybe to do some of the things we've never done before, things that maybe we've just not got round to doing. Knowing what you want is key to setting any goal, but it's really not the what, it's the why. Again, we've heard it from the stage today. I feel like everybody's done part of my slot, actually. But it is all about why, because it's the why that taps us into the emotion. It's the why that powers our subconscious. The why is the emotional attachment that will drive you to achieve. As Jane Leach says, if you don't know the why, you'll never, ever find the how. Without a strong why, you'll find it also very hard to apply the discipline that's needed to do the activity that's required. So to give you an example, what do I want? Well, just a couple of examples from our dream book. You know, what I want to be is a great wife, a great mum, a great granny. Well, a granny, not a great granny. Not yet, flips. And why do I want that? Well, because I love my family, so I want to be the best that I can be. I want to be slim and fit and healthy. Why? Because it makes me feel better about myself, and I want to live longer. I want a long life. I want a BMW 4x4 for Alan. Why? Because, well, he likes BMWs, and a 4x4 will be so much easier with our growing family. Not children, grandchildren. So it's so important to know what you want, but most importantly, why you want it. Once you fully understand the power of the subconscious mind and how it works, you will create that dream book. You will put together that vision board, and you'll have it where you can see it every single day. Now, you might be a bit like me, and you might be sat there thinking, what? I haven't got time to read all these books and stuff. Personally, I thought I'd start reading when I got to manager, because I knew I wouldn't have anything else to do then. I'd have lots of time. Yeah, got that one wrong as well. And equally, you might be thinking, you know, stick pictures in a book, I haven't got time. And some of your family might look at you strangely, like we heard from the son of the lady who spoke earlier. You might have heard it all before, and you might have got on board with this, and you might be doing it, but you haven't yet finished it. You know, you've got a few pictures, you bought the book, the book's in one place and the pictures are in another. And again, I see that many, many times. So as a complete convert, and they always say there's nothing worse than a convert, as someone who definitely didn't want to do this and didn't do it for a good 18 months probably in the business, I urge you to take the time to do this because I've seen its power. I tried to build my business without really... I knew what I wanted, but I didn't think about the why, and I didn't do a dream book. And the results, when I did, were explosive. So you can do it with, you can do it without, but I suggest you stick with it. If you look at your dream board, your vision book, and it doesn't move you, if you have one and it doesn't move you, if you're looking at the same photos, perhaps, that no longer really have meaning for you, then please, now's the time. You know, for 2013, now is the time to reconnect and put in place something that really, truly stirs your soul. And it's worth going to work for you. Because this is a network marketing business. It involves work, it involves activity, it involves discipline. And so it has to stir your soul. Once you know what you want and you know why you want it, then I believe it's really, really important to identify your values and to prioritize those values. Values exist whether we recognize them or not. Life is so much easier when we acknowledge our values and when we make plans and decisions that honor them. If you value family and you work a 70-hour-a-week job and you don't see much of them, and are you going to feel internal stress and conflict when you're at work? I would suggest you will. If you don't value competition and yet you work in a highly competitive sales environment, you're not going to get much job satisfaction, are you? If you join Forever because you wanted to do the school run every day and yet you make a plan that means you miss the school run 3 days out of 5, how likely are you to stick to that plan? Values are priorities that tell you how to spend your time right here, right now. Miss out this important step in setting your goals, and you're much more likely to abandon your plan because you're simply not happy on your forever journey, and that is so important. I spent a long time thinking I'll be happy when I get there, and I never knew where there was. I'll be happy when I get to manager, I'll be happy when I get to 100 Club, I'll be happy when... You know, forever is a journey, and you've got to find the happiness in it today. Right here, right now, as an assistant supervisor, as a supervisor, you have to think of what the benefits are of the business to you each day. Because a smile draws people, and you'll only smile if you're happy. So we've got our dream, we know what we want, we know why we want it, we've got our goal, and we've identified our values. So what next? Well, we need to measure our performance, so we know what activity plan we need to reach our goals. Now, I know this sounds like number crunching, and except for the digitals in the room today, I can already hear the collective groans when we talk about numbers. But I promise you, I hate numbers too, but this is so simple and yet so crucial to your success. Remember what Ben Hunt Davis said, improving performance creates a winner. Dr. James Harrington is a very successful businessman and a consultant, an author of over 45 books, and he wrote, measurement is the first step that leads to control and eventually to improvements, because if you can't measure it, you can't control it. So what performance can we measure in building our forever business? Well, as you can see there, I believe there are 3 things: consistency, persistence, and activity. I found consistency, I can't even say, I paid a fortune for the teeth, for the nose. Now the teeth doesn't work. Teeth don't work, to quote John Curtis. I found consistency to be so, so important. It's not just about how many calls a week we make, it's the consistency with which we make them. You need to get into a routine to establish a habit. I think those were Maria Idigo's words as well. It's just so true. The more we do, the better we get, but only if we are consistent. You could take a week off work and talk to 60 people, or you could talk to 15 people a week. Same number, but your results will be different. You will develop different habits. Being consistent takes discipline and it takes planning. And if you haven't yet read The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson, then I'd put it right at the top of your to-do list. Many of you will oh, I missed a slide. So set some daily, weekly tasks. Very importantly, do the challenging tasks first. I've learnt that. It took me a long time. You know, we tend to do the things we like to do first. So if you've got a challenge in the business, make sure that's the first thing you do when you've got the energy to do it. Many of you will recognize this quote, "Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence." And I really believe this. And we've seen some remarkable examples today of recognitions on this stage that have come about quite simply through dogged determination and persistence. To me, this quote really emphasizes the power in sticking to it. So how persistent are you? How persistent are we in following through? How persistent are we in following up? Most of us, I think it's fair to say, start out with the best of intentions, but when the time comes to take action and do what is required to achieve our goal, we can sometimes make excuses, sort of justify our actions, and quite simply opt out. Anyone ever thought, oh, it's no point ringing them again. I rang them last year. They weren't interested then. Anybody got some free prize questionnaires and you look and you think, oh, I don't think I'll ring them because when I spoke to them, they didn't seem that interested anyway? Anybody got some numbers lurking somewhere that maybe you've decided just aren't worth contacting? Persistence, persistence. If we're going to win, we must be prepared to face our challenges head on and accept that it's not going to be easy. There's going to be disappointments, there's going to be failures, there's going to be discouraging times. But we must have patience. I hate that word. Patience, though, it's important, and recognize that anything worthwhile really does take time. I believe we can achieve anything at all that's important to us if we're willing to go that extra mile to succeed. Thomas Edison had a great quote when he said, "Our greatest weakness lies in giving up. The most certain way to succeed is to try just one more time, one more call, one more product sale." You know, it's so easy, the easy route, isn't it? Just to say, oh, I'll forget it for today. It's not easy, I admit. I still quit on a regular basis, but only for 20 minutes. So you need to decide how long your pity party is going to be. I think 20 minutes is enough, to be fair. Activity, very important, is the final thing we need to measure. So what sort of things can we measure? Well, how many people we talk to every day is a key about the business and about the products. How many people would take a look at the business, take a look at the products? How many people go to a BP? How many people register? You know, these are very simple figures. If you just fill in a profile sheet and you keep to the discipline, sorry, not a profile sheet, a pipeline, as long as you keep to the discipline of filling in your pipeline properly, all you have to do is add up the figures at the bottom. You don't have to be an accountant. It doesn't take a degree. It just takes a discipline of completing that pipeline. For the last one there, how many people do I need to sponsor to promote a supervisor, assistant manager, or a manager? This is a bit more complicated. You've got to pick the phone up and call head office, and they'll give you a position profile, and you can work it out. So not hard stuff here. So it really is no excuse for not keeping your stats. But I'll tell you, it's a small discipline to pay for success. Because keeping stats is key to you measuring and improving your performance. It's the key to you getting different results. Remember, if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. Okay, once you know what you want and you know why you want it, once you understand how your business is going to look in terms of the marketing plan, do you need to be a manager, a senior manager, a soaring manager? Now it's time for you to sit down and make your plan. If you're new to the business, I suggest that you work with your sponsor or your upline to create your plan, put it together. If you're experienced in the business, then put your plan together, but still talk it through with your sponsor or your upline, because two heads can be better than one. To make a plan, we need to ask ourselves some questions. What do I need to do daily, weekly, to achieve my goal? What help will I need? What activities do I need to measure? And how am I going to measure those activities? What personal development will I do to keep me growing and on track to achieve? How am I going to manage my disappointment? You can do the beating the bed with a broom method. That gets rid of any frustration. Or maybe go to the gym, get some exercise. That will get rid of some frustration as well. But don't get frustrated, accept it's going to happen, and get fascinated instead. This is a very fascinating business. How will I hold myself accountable when my commitment is failing? Ask yourselves the question and the questions, and probably many more, but it will help you to be prepared and your plan, and help you to stick to your plan. So once we've got our plan, we need to accept again that life's going to come along. We've heard it from the stage today. There is nobody that doesn't get hit by life once in a while. So although we've worked out a specific detailed plan for getting what we want, it's important to recognize that we will need to make adjustments along the way. Nothing ever goes exactly as planned, does it? Isn't there a quote, life is what happens, no, something like that. Life's what happens. Oh no, can't remember it. Anyway, should have written it down. It was on a card, but anyway. So nothing ever goes exactly as planned. So a ship's navigator can can carefully plan his route across the ocean, taking into account the prevailing winds and currents. Yet, along the way, conditions are sure to change. So the navigator must constantly monitor the ship's progress and make course corrections as he goes. Your initial plan is vital, and the clear definition of the destination is essential. Keep the end in mind. Just as important is the ability to make those mid-course corrections. The plan we develop to reach our goal is not a paved superhighway. It is a map. It's a map to get you from where you are now to where you want to be. And it's up to us to make our way over the terrain so that we reach the destination. Sometimes that terrain is rocky. Sometimes we find ourselves off course. So we must be committed enough to reach our goal that we take whatever steps are necessary to get back on course. Always, always keep the end in sight. Evaluate your progress and, more importantly, your decisions about what to do next based on reaching your goal. Continue to remind yourself what you're working to accomplish and why you want it. Continue making progress in the direction of your goal and you really will reach it. But we will need some focus. We all have awesome power when we focus our minds. If we don't focus, we don't see. Once we train our focus on our goals and desires, our minds act like heat-seeking missiles, leading us through all the lessons we need to learn to arrive at our goals. This is true for as long as we maintain our focus. So looking at our dream book, our vision board, is absolutely essential. When I did my first dream book, I thought, that's fantastic. It was really good. It really inspired me, and I put it in the cupboard. I also tried the keeping it in the boot of the car method. That didn't work either. Your dream book is for you to look at. It's for others to look at. It's to inspire on a daily basis. So you need to be looking at it, I would suggest, every morning, every evening, and re-motivating yourself, re-inspiring yourself with your dreams. We will also need belief. Whatever we've gone through in 2012 and before, we have learned some lessons, but we must act on those lessons. Can I have the next slide, please? I think my clicker's not working. Thank you. We need to get excited about becoming the person we need to be to achieve our goals and live the life we desire. We need to acknowledge our mistakes, identify what drove us to make those mistakes, let go of disappointment, and don't dwell on the past. Most importantly, don't compare yourselves to other people. It only makes you miserable, I promise, and there is absolutely no point at all. Remember Ben's words, just because we hadn't done it before, it didn't mean we couldn't. Check your limiting beliefs. One of the most common limiting beliefs I've found is that we all seem to believe we might get some success, but we can only get to a certain level. So if success is based on 1 to 10, and 10 is Diamond Manager, well, we might be able to get to a 7, say. Why? You know, if somebody's got to a 10, why not you? Why not me? Why can't we all do it? Check your self-talk. What are you saying to yourself? I can or I can't. You know, we talk to ourselves every day, all the time. You're all sat there talking to yourselves while I'm up here. And we need to hear what we're saying, because mostly it's rubbish. So check what you're saying to yourself. We need to trust the process. When I decided to follow these steps, I decided on what I wanted. I knew why I wanted it. I set my goal, and I had my plan, and I was just so excited. And it was the beginning of the year. It was, I think it was 2000, beginning of the year 2000. And I didn't even wait till January the 2nd. I started on January the 1st. And in my plan, I'd committed to talking to 15 people every week. I thought that would deliver the goal that I was looking to achieve. And I set off on the 1st of January by calling 34 people that I'd spoken to before. And then I started, 15 a week. So by the end of January, I'd got 34 people on the 1st, got 50 a week. That's 94 people at least. So guess how many people I sponsored in January? None. So as you can imagine, I was a little disappointed. I questioned my belief. You know, would this work? Could I do it? And I questioned my upline. Jane obviously didn't know what she was talking about. And I told her. And we had a conversation. I was gutted. But you know what? I didn't have a plan B. I only had plan A. This had to work. Because the only option for forever not working meant that I had to go back to work. And that was never, ever, 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 ever going to happen. So I had to find a way to make this work. So I said to Jane, what am I doing wrong? She said, keep doing it. So I started again. I set off in February. 15, 15, 15, 15. In fact, because I did 15 quite early on in the week, some weeks I even got more than that. So I had more than 60 people. That's 94 and 60. We'll call it 160 odd. Richard's not close enough to add up for me. Guess how many in February? No, I did no, it wasn't none. I sponsored one person who just wanted to use the products for her family and friends. So I questioned. I doubted. Me, my upline, all that stuff. Can I do it? Will it work? But I had no plan B. So in March, I carried on. 15, 15. On the 5th of March, I sponsored 5. On the 10th of March, I sponsored 5. By the end of March, I'll have you know, I was the sponsor of the month. 13 people. I know there was 14 today. Yes, thank you. 13 people. Now, where did those 13 people come from? They didn't come from March. They came from all that work through January and February. But what if I'd stopped in January? What if I'd stopped in February? You've got to believe, you've got to trust the process, you've got to do the activity and let go of the results. And I know there are people in this room who can mirror that story I've just told you, that they've done exactly the same and the results have come some time after. Now, it can be that you get the result right away, but you need to accept that there is often a lead time. So, if you're looking for big things in 2013, you need to start before the 1st of January. I would suggest you have your goal and your plan in place before the end of the year. With just a few weeks to go, focus on massive activity to reach your goals this year and to set you on track for next year. Don't slow down to the end of the year. If you've already achieved your goals, or if you've simply just abandoned them for this year, rev up. Now's the time to do it. If you don't know why you'd want to rev up to the end of the year, now's the time to decide why you would want to do that. You need to get those goals in place. To achieve success, working hard is not enough. To quote Ben Hunt Davis yet again, he told us that everyone at the top works hard. But how many of us work hard doing what's in front of us rather than the activities that we know we need to do to achieve our goals? Perhaps Ben's question, will it make the boat go faster, is the one we need to ask every day. Or, will this activity move me towards or away from my goal? Whatever the question is that works for you, I firmly believe that we need to be questioning our actions repeatedly if we want some different results. You know, 2013 is just around the corner. I always forget my clicker. And we're going to be sat at the Success Express in January, well, before we know it. So right now, dream your dream. Set your goal. Identify your values. Measure your performance. Create that plan. Trust the process and take massive, massive action. Go to work as if your life depends upon it, because in truth, to live the life you really want, it actually does. I wish you huge success this year. I wish you huge success in 2013. May you all win your very own personal gold medal. Thank you. Thank you.
Ooh. Thank you, Chris. Wasn't that just amazing? I've set my goals for next year already. Every year, Chris inspires me so much. Next year's going to be my best year ever. I hope it's going to be yours too.